two British mad about the UFO go to America to visit all sites related to newcomers and legends of them. And when guys meet the real alien, are not ready to pursuits and dangers, but having got it together, the Earth do not help the gray person with uncommon sense of humor. We are brothers now. 1947, living on a lone standing farm, the girl a container Walton releases on the street of the dog of a floor on whom the flying device is on a silver platter. 2011 of San Diego, the state of California. Childhood friends, two middle-aged British, the artist, the illustrator Graham Willie, and the writer, the fantast Clive a goling, come to America to get on the well-known festival of comics. The comedian a game guys bypass all platforms, trying on masks of various heroes of comics. At asking the price of weapon of superheroes, finally they turn to a table where the famous writer Adam Sherlu Child signs the books. Clive shows it the graphic novel of a job the Queen, the newcomer of wretches, which all is caused by admiration of an additional breast. The heroine are also photographed against the background of the writer. After busy day, the guys go to hotel where they are checked in by mistake with one bed that causes a heap of unnecessary questions concerning their orientation. But guys do not take a steam bath and explain that they are going to be passed in a mobile house on memorable UFOs to places Zone 51, a black mailbox in Nevada, and the city of Roswell in the state of New Mexico. Since early morning, the friends follow the route, doing stops in the pleasant places, and reach one point of the program. Zones 51. They stop for lunch in the small thematic UFO of cafe with the good-natured hostess Pat Stevens, which is told about a coma, a horse, and a meeting with the writer. But when Clive departs in a toilet, two passable farmers of the T's, who want to have a good time, stick to Graham. Guys, the next time, listen to reasons concerning their orientation and try to leave on silent, but Clive does not manage to drive, and their bus rams the pickup of an aggressive couple. It is necessary to be taken up from the place of accident. Soon, friends come to the second point of the travel. Guys are photographed against the background of a black mailbox from where hastily leave, having seen fires of headlights on the empty road, having considered that they are made up by vindictive farmers. Clive presses on gas, periodically worrying about the weak bladder, but the car overtakes them and is carried away forward, causing simplification shouts. These are not farmers. However, here the driver of the sedan does not manage to drive and departs to a ditch. The frightened guys go to look what happened to the driver, but in the car it appears nobody. But as soon as friends decide to call rescuers, the voice which does not advise it is distributed to do. And having turned back, men see the typical gray person, 1.5 meters, growth in shorts with a backpack and a cigarette in teeth. Clive, all life dreaming to meet the newcomer, to urinate also faints Grems, being shocked with surprise learns that the alien is called a floor because its ship crushed a dog with the same name. He speaks English and in general behaves as the hero of numerous comics. The newcomer needs the help as he is pursued by agents of intelligence agencies. Together they cloud Clive the van and go other. Soon after their departure for the place of accident, there arrives a person in a black suit by name Zoit. He notices a distasteful puddle and tells on the radio set to a certain lady that the fugitive escaped. The chief swears the fugitive could already contact the house and Zoya to couple the beginners who are on duty nearby Gerds Ha and the Ornell sends. At this time, Clive recovers and sees the newcomer regaling on pistachios. The guy grabs a Flora throat, but Graham stops the friend. The good newcomer, he arrived from the small planet from the northern sleeve of Andromeda. Paul explains the typicality. The population was trained for their emergence that people did not faint at their arrival. The skirmish is stopped by agents who examine all cars. Here it becomes clear that a floor can become invisible, having held the breath so newcomers' agents do not find, but are enraptured with the inscribed novel by Clive, noting the wetted jeans, couple releases the van and a floor, having begun to breathe, is shown. On the road, Wyoming, a floor is prepared for friends of coffee, while Clive goes into hysterics concerning the real newcomer in his van. Zoit in the morning comes on a post of agents, but they cannot remember anything unusual. Crom of couple of geeks going with the comedian of a game, and obmocheny trousers of Clive. But just it convinces Zola that they on the right track. Meanwhile, the van stops at gas station, and a floor without hiding from people around asks friends to buy it candies. Guys go to shop when the police officer who asks them questions of their life in England and releases approaches. On the road, a floor tells friends that it was long held on base, assuring that it is a guest, but it turned out that it is a captive. At this moment, the windshield of the car breaks, the bird of Trinity comes to the road, a floor lifts the poor fellow and recovers it immediately to eat to the shocked guys. He explains that it could not burst it from dead. They go further and the newcomer tells that he did not try to recover the person as it takes away a lot of energy. Soon, friends decide to find the place for a lodging for the night, while agent interview the police officer at gas station. Then Zoet reports hostesses that the newcomer moves with 2 British on what receives the order to remove all 3. At this time, the van turns to a camping, where they are met by the one-eyed daughter of the owner of the parking. It takes their documents as a deposit, promising to come later behind money, and shows the place where they can stop. The girl gets into conversation, but her father immediately reminds of himself and Russia leaves. Having stopped, Clive makes a dinner while a floor begins to ask questions of their orientation too. On its planet, the main thing that was pleasant, but Clive disproves these conjectures and itself asks a question about the purpose of its stay on the Earth. Paul explains that he was in an expedition, but his ship crashed. It was saved by the girl. And then there were people and brought it to base. All this time he advised the government and also any directors like Spielberg, having made enormous impact on Bottom's the culture of the last 60 years. And by the way, the agent Mulder was thought up too by him. Guys have a rest, drinking and dancing that accidentally sees blood, but the girl does not manage to be frightened as the father calls her on a prayer. In the morning, the ditch knocks the van and asks about the 3rd friend, and a floor answers from a toilet. The girl tells that the father brings up her in severity and love for God when a floor starts with it, a discussion about appearance of mankind. The charter proves obvious, a floor leaves and Ruff faints. Friends decide to leave, having taken the girl then to land her somewhere far away. But here, remember documents. Paul goes housing Russia and comes across her father of Mose. With that decides that he saw a devil and grabs a gun. The newcomer runs on the parking and the van hardly manages to leave. Blood, having regained consciousness in a Fuganchik, begins to cry out and call a floor the demon, and after trying to muffle arguments of people around, falls on knees and begins to sing church anthems. Floor, having lost patience one touch, shares with it the knowledge, and later at the request of Graham, does with it the same. Meanwhile arrives to a camping Zoit also at assistance, and having listened to Moses, the group goes to a pursuit when the father Russia also decides to return the daughter, having adjusted purity of radio in the car on the receiver of agents. Meanwhile, Graham tries to convince Russia of reality of the event, while a floor consoles Clive in the fact that when he for the first time saw the person, in general felt nausea, and imparts to it the knowledge that the writer could use them in the books. And Russia begins to do at this time what was forbidden to it earlier, uses foul language and touches the Grammy for the causal place. The guy reminds that before it the whole world, and she can go with them. The girl agrees when a floor stops her. He is interested in its diagnosis and makes the next miracle, curing her eye. The company goes further, having almost forgotten about a pursuit and having a good time what teaches the girl to swear. Soon they stop in remote bar. Blood calls the father. Without knowing that Moses is in this bar, its call intercepts Zoet, demanding to call the place of its stay. Having understood that it was marked Russia, hurries to an exit and will come across the same couple of farmers who decide to flirt with the beauty. She escapes when teases recognize the British who broke their car a fight, where gets involved emos when friends are enough. The girl is started in bar and dragged to the car. The appeared floor frightens farmers before consciousness loss. Heroes escape and hide in a camping nearby, but then give in to arrangements of a floor and go to walk on a goat. Learns from police what happened in bar. Meanwhile, Toast Russia finds little shop of toys with space knickknacks, and the guy suggests the girl to kiss when inopportunely, a floor appears. The company goes to a near grove, where at a fire Russia, for the first time, uses the forbidden substance from what faints, and a floor finishes the story about stay on base, where it imparted to the U.S. government all the knowledge of science, space, and other. It had only its abilities, healing, telepathy, masking, and so on. But it was for this purpose necessary to give the stem cells. One friend helped a floor to contact fellow countrymen and to appoint the place and time of evacuation home, but an operation was undergone per day earlier from what a floor had to steal the car which broke. Now it has two ways, or to reach to the meeting place and to leave the Earth, or to lose life on the operating table in Zone 51. In the morning, guys read a note the blood left by it on Graham's forehead and understand that to the van they should go on the busy city. Friends buy a suit of the cowboy in a floor and conduct it through the city. But suddenly the fake katana and a trinity was necessary for Clive and goes to shop, while Zoet will be the girl and asks her questions, but does not recognize in her the one-eyed helper of fugitives agents at this time comb streets, and two decide to glance in little shop. The agent about Rayleigh sees the newcomer, which immediately stiffens, representing a doll, but the man decides to make sure that it is not the living newcomer and reaches for his men's advantage for what immediately is hit on hands. Clive and Floor manage to jump the van when furious Zoet orders to two goofs to return to base. But Haggart, considering that capture of the newcomer will advance them on a career ladder together with the workmate, continues a pursuit. Moses's car, too, a bird on traces. Paul wants to continue the road not to endanger friends, but people refuse to throw him, having stolen from little shop necessary for giving of a signal fireworks. The team goes further while the hostess reports ashes that marked group behind theft and designates the purpose of their trip. Farmer Morgue Croft, to which the floor ship fell 60 years ago. This message hears about Rayleigh Haggart and Moses, and two go friends there, the grown old container, which all these years considered the madwoman meets, from what she lives all alone, and a zlobina of a floor. However, having seen that newcomer, and having understood that she did not go crazy, she forgets to set fire to a torch, and expresses to the newcomer all his offenses, but eventually she forgives him, and a floor in reply returns it a teddy bear. Arrived on a farm, Zoet wants to enter quietly the house, but interfere with it the Haggart, which were with tear gas Peoria and begun to a fight Zoet, it appears. It is deafened by mental influence of a floor. When Graham cuts down the Haggart, friends together old run to the car when about Rayleigh, without having noticed the gas filling the house, shoots blowing up the house together with themselves and the approached Moses. The group leaves regained consciousness. Mose will move down behind them, but the hacker, who in turn perishes, shoots at it. Falling from the bridge in a canyon, Zoet continues a pursuit, without listening to the chief who directs special troops for fugitives. The company arrives to the mountain of Devil of Wraiths where, having started fireworks, wait for arrival of the spaceship. However, on an edge of the wood, the helicopter with the chief ashes on board arrives. The woman is going to kill the newcomer, but Zoet will wound her security guards, getting from it a bullet. And here it becomes clear that the friend from base who helped a floor to run away appeared Zoet, whom a floor many years ago acquainted with future wife. And all this time the agent wanted to intercept the alien before the government to help it. To come back home? A fight begins, and though the woman scatters all to a container, it is possible to knock out her there is Moses, of which the Bible which delayed a bullet saved. It shoots in a floor, but Russia in despair gets to Graham. Clive says goodbye to the friend, but here a floor, risking the life, collects all the forces and revives the artist. Mose all this on God's rights off carrying out. The recovered chief aims in a floor from a revolver, but perishes. Pressed down, sharply fallen by it the UFO. The arrived newcomers treat all wounded, and a floor says goodbye to friends. Having invited a container to depart with it will bath 60 years of her destroyed life, and having taken with yourself the novel by Clive. Their past 2 years, Clive is played again, are on the comedian, a horse where enjoy wide popularity Russia. It appears the girl of Graham, Clive and Graham's graphic novel which won all awards Adam presents to public Sherwood Child, and from the hall applaud the owner of bar, under Stevens, whom the special place in one chapter of the novel carrying names of floor, a confidential material chick was allocated.